Tento pořad sponzorují monitory Samsung Odyssey s QHD rozlišením pro maximální zážitek ze hry. Samsung.
Hey guys, today we've got the special opportunity to talk with one of the legends, I would say, of the casting scene, Chad SPUNJ Brunchill. So thank you for having us.
No worries, and that's very high praise. I appreciate the kind words, thank you.
Well, you've already won Caster of the Year last year, so I think it's very well deserved.
Yeah, that was an interesting one to get Color Commentator of the Year, and before that, I'm not trying to shine my own words here, but I had Analyst of the Year as well, which was also quite the honour, right? I kind of am very lucky to get to do what I love every day of the week. So to be recognised for being good at my craft, I suppose, yeah, it's an honour, right? It's not an accolade I thought I would ever be achieving when I started pursuing this line of work.
Well, I definitely understand. I mean, you started out as a player. You've played for Renegades, which is, you know, nowadays it's not really a team you see often in the playoffs and stuff like that. So I wanted to ask, what do you think is the problem with the Aussie teams?
It's a good question.
Is it geographical or is it, mentality?
I think the geography does definitely play a huge role in this, right? So I think that it needs to kind of be said that when I was in the Renegades team, we were still like a breakthrough team, right? Like we definitely made a name for ourselves for being those like plucky underdogs, and we had a bit of a personality, and we were a breakthrough for Australia. But the Renegades team, or the 100 Thieves team that went on and went deep within the major, that was a different breed. And what they did was spent so much time in Europe just boot camping consistently, in North America, where we did move even when I was there. That was the difference maker. When you think about the current iterations of those rosters, right, they're still back at home. They're in Australia, they fly out every now and again, they fly, they play, they go home. And when you're coming last in these events, you're not getting a lot of time to play tournaments, you're not getting a lot of time to play experience. So geography definitely playing a huge factor in that, but also the finances, right? Someone has to be willing to get you visas somewhere else in the world, has to be willing to house you somewhere else in the world, and pay you a decent salary that you want to make that sacrifice, because being away from home is not a sacrifice that everybody's comfortable with doing, right? So there's a lot of factors. There's definitely good players. We do have an issue with our population being quite low, but at the same time, I think if people want to commit themselves to this for lengthy periods of time, anything's possible. The 100 Thieves guys showed that.
Yeah, they definitely did, but unfortunately it didn't work out very well with the organization. So we'll see where that goes currently with the Australian players. I'm gonna get back to your casting career,
okay.
Because currently you're, I think, an iconic duo with Machine, and I wanted to ask, back in the channels of history, how did you two get together? Did you have a say in it, or was it like pure chance that you two got paired?
So the history for Alex and I goes back to when we were working desks, right? So when we were doing analyst desks, one of the my favorite desks that we did was myself, Yanko, and Alex, and that was the three of us almost doing every event for a period of time back there, when maybe not when I first started, but maybe after the first year. And the three of us, we had great chemistry together, right? So Alex is, in my opinion, one of the best hosts to ever do it. And he's the type of guy where he's so organic, he asks genuine questions. Right now, maybe some of them he knows, but he will ask to set us up and make us look like heroes, right? So working that with the dynamic we had with Yanko and Alex, that was great. Then Yanko left us and he went and coached. And then what happened from that point on was Alex left the hosting and went to cast with Henry, which me, Henry, and Alex, we've been great mates for plenty of years. We lived together in Malta for a period of time, and we had that relationship. And then what happened during the pandemic was the three of us were like tri-casting. We were doing a Pro League season. We had plenty of time due to what happened during the pandemic, and it was kind of refined that Alex was the play-by-play and the host for the trio we were doing. Henry was like a bit more of a hybrid. He would do color, but also hype play-by-play. And then I was like the more pure color guy, so I was doing breaking down of rounds and coming in the end to kind of break all those bits and bobs down. And then Henry obviously retired from casting and moved on to different things. And I kind of stuck with the casting because it's an opportunity for me to do live analysis, right? A lot of people, they're like, oh, SPUNJ isn't very hype. Well, my job is to be a color commentator, right? Mm-hmm. And I like to stay in that lane. I definitely want to make sure I'm entertaining the crowd, but Alex is the hype man. I'm the guy who's here to say the X's and the O's and why certain things are happening. So that's kind of how it unfolded. And Alex and I had a conversation as we were, I guess, coming out of the pandemic, that we were going to cast with each other on a frequent basis, right? So it was kind of just a series of events that unfolded, and yeah, it happened, and it's been fun. It's been great.
Yeah, well, now you've evolved into sort of an iconic duo, as I mentioned. So you've mentioned that you're the X and O's type of guy, and he's the hype man. So when I was trying to compare you to like some of the iconic duos, I was thinking whether you're like more of a Bonnie and Clyde situation, or is that like Batman and Robin? Whichever you think.
I think Alex would. Well, actually, I don't know. I don't want to speak for Alex. I don't know. I feel a bit more like the sidekick, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, I think that in commentary, the play-by-play is the focus, right? Like, that is where the hype, the narrative, a lot of that comes from. For me, it's to kind of sprinkle on top, right? So I feel like I'm complementary, right? I think that obviously the color role is necessary, but in the way that our duo is, it's not like two hybrid commentators together, right? Or a play-by-play with a hybrid. So I would probably say a bit more like Batman and Robin, but I don't know how I feel about calling Alex. Like, I would say Alex in this analogy is the Batman, but I don't know if I feel happy calling him Batman. I feel like, you know, he would probably be wearing the spandex and I'd be wearing the big suit.
Yeah.
No, but he's definitely, for me, right, like to get to work with someone who has so much experience. Alex has been doing this. He was commentating, then he went Desk Coast, now he's back commentating, right? It's great to see how his brain works, because he's genuinely super passionate about what he does, and it comes through in his commentary. So I'm lucky to get to work with him.
Well, I'm glad to hear that it's working out fine with you. My next question, you've mentioned the pandemic a lot, and I think that it's taken a toll on many people, including players. I mean, the mental health is quite an issue currently. It's been spoken about a lot. Currently, Device from NIP is on a medical leave due to, you know, mental health issues. So did you feel some of that burnout during the pandemic? Was it tough, or did it change actually the scene for the better?
The scene for the better, that's a interesting question, right? To look at that angle overall. For me personally, it has its pros and its cons, right? Obviously it sucks that the world was shut down, and it's bullshit that we got stuck in that situation. But if I was to look for anything which maybe I could frame as a positive for me out of it, I think getting to work in the way we did in the online era, we had a lot more freedom with what we were doing, which kind of helped us hone a bit more of entertainment perspective, right? You don't have the crowd, you don't have the spectacle that we're at now. You have to be more entertaining and have a bit more personality come through, which was something that I really liked with the trios that we did, I mentioned before, with Henry, and we did another one with Pansy a little bit later in the year. Mm-hmm. That I think was professionally like a good thing for us, and a good thing for me. I think from a personal standpoint, for me, I have been on the road since 2014, right? And that kind of just continued to ramp up. When I decided to do this full time, the first year, which was, well, I guess late 2016, but pretty much 2017 is the full year, I didn't have a home in Europe. I would just make sure I'd book gigs to go from event to event to event, so that I didn't have to fly back to Australia, because that's problematic in itself. So my mental health over that period of time took a toll without me realizing it, because living the dream, I'm getting to do something I love, I get to travel, I get to be in Counter-Strike, I get, you know, amazing, all the good stuff. But little did I realize the ramifications that was going to have later down the track. And then when everything kind of came to a halt in the pandemic, and I'm in Malta on my own for the better part of 2 months, kind of without being able to go outside or do anything, you have to start then thinking about everything that happened in the last couple of years, right? Like failed relationships, not seeing my family, traveling and not looking after myself, not necessarily being the healthiest. All of those things kind of add up. And I was in a fortunate position where, for me, I was still able to go and work, but then when I had time off, I was able to reflect. And that reflection time, I think, really helped me see where I'd been going wrong and things in my life that I needed to stop neglecting, right? Because not only in certain situations was it harmful to myself, but it was harmful to other people who cared about me, right? And we don't want any of that. But you also asked about the scene. So don't worry about my personal bullshit. We've all got that. But the scene overall, I think detrimental in one sense, right? Obviously, because everything was going pretty nice, right? Like 2019, we were going event, like big events, arenas all the time. But also at the same time, that's kind of a bad thing. Like the players were getting burnt out. There was just like, are we just going to do spectacles forever? Like, would it have gotten old? Were people talking about oversaturation? Because now I think we've reeled things back. TOs, Blast especially, have been kind of evolving what they've done in online broadcasts. It's helped push ESL to be better with content. So I don't know if it's, you know, it's hard to say for the overall scene if it's a good or a bad thing. I might have to make a pros and cons list and actually measure them up here, but I can see ways that it's helped and ways that it's hindered. But I think what it's done is it has given us a new breed of players, and it's given us the old players who are still here a new appreciation for what we had and now what we have again. And I think that is truly important, because you don't want people getting jaded and old and, just like, we want everybody to be loving what we're doing, right? And I think that's reignited that flame.
Well, I think that the viewership numbers actually make sense with what you're saying, so I'm not going to call that what you're saying a bullshit. So I also wanted to get back to the casting. You've won the Cast of the Year award, but I think that it may come off as a commitment for you. So is it like, obviously you've had to have been like super happy about it because you're being appreciated, but is it like a commitment for you for the future?
To win more awards?
Mayhaps, maybe also stay, to
the top of my game.
Yeah.
I think to get such high praise and recognized by my peers feels great, but I know that there are a lot of really good people at what I do everywhere, either my colleagues in Counter-Strike or in other games. I don't know what they saw that separated me from other individuals, right? They didn't give me this is the scorecard and this is why, right? I take it as an honor, right? But in terms of doing what I'm doing, I've always done the same thing. I love Counter-Strike. I love to get out there and be involved in something that I've been doing since I was 14 years of age, right? Now the fact that I'm a big kid, I'm 33 almost, I get to still do the thing I love. And it's not anything at any point that I've taken for granted, right? This is my dream. And that is why I've made sacrifices in the past with maybe other parts of my life to continue doing this. So to look and using the awards that I have to get to that standard, I have to win again, I was just honored to do so. So the fact that I have any awards in my cap, now I was the type of kid who won the most improved award or the participation award, right? So I wasn't the type of guy like knocking anything out of the park. So again, it's an absolute honor, but I don't think it's making me chase, the accolades. I still want to do the best job I can because that's how I represent myself. And I take a lot of pride in what I do. So I think it's great to be recognized, but I'm going to continue trying to just be the best version of me I can be.
Well, hopefully this is going to turn out even better. Now, when you were accepting the award, you've made like a skit from your bathroom.
Yes.
And on the wall there was like checked best analyst, check best commentator, and for 2023, yes. I think, or 2022, there was best coach, and a lot of your colleagues from the analyst desks went and actually tried their stint with coaching. It was Yanko, it was Moses, Henry G became a manager. So was there ever an offer like that for you?
There were definitely like teams like sending messages and asking about like the potential, but the reality of that, it was more a joke because I had to build on the way that I accepted my award the previous year, which was a shoey in the shower, fully clothed. So then I was like, well, I have to do something else dumb. So I was like, okay, how can we make this a bit of fun? And I'm just trying to be a goofball, right? Because giving an actual acceptance speech, like I really want to, thank all the like for me, I want to have a bit of fun with it. I want to be that angle. So definitely a gag, but I would like to coach at some point in my career because two main reasons. I don't want to do what Henry did. I don't want to do what Yanko did. I don't want to do what Moses did. I don't want to go to a high-profile team because the issue there is if you don't live up to even the smallest bit of community expectation, you saw what happened to those guys, right? Like they unfortunately were framed, and these are some of my best friends, people I spend so much time with. So first of all, hard seeing them have to go through the community bullshit, but also it sets you up for a failure because if you don't come in here and FaZe are already a good team, if FaZe don't become the best team, that's where you have to go, right? And with Liquid were the Grand Slam winners. They were, if they don't go from back to that form, how do you live up to that expectation? So they set themselves hard tasks, whereas if I was to coach, what I would like to do, and I'm fortunate that they went and did it first, I've learned from their experiences, what I would like to do is go back to Australia and coach an Australian team to try and help them with some of the knowledge because I've been very selfish in my pursuit, right? I have moved overseas. All of what I do is overseas. None of it is getting injected back into Australia. Sure, I'm Australian and I like to represent my country, but at the same time, I haven't helped with that knowledge getting back to the player base. And I would love to be able to, as the figure that I guess I'm become overseas, I would like to be able to take some of that and help reinstall that knowledge and feel like I'm not leaving my countrymen out to dry, right? I would like to go back and coach a bunch of potential kids who are ready to become the next big thing. And that journey, I feel like I could really get invested in, you know, because I'd been there, I'd seen that, and I would love to. That's the feeling that you want, right? You want that feeling that you're grinding and working together. So if I was to do it, it would be that angle. It's definitely something that I did consider quite seriously, maybe a year and a half ago, like the idea of doing that, but it kind of wiped that away with all the casting stuff. So maybe something for the future, maybe when I stop doing this, it's something I would like to go and pursue.
So once you go unhappy with casting and being an analyst, you're going to become a coach. Do I understand that?
Well, there's a couple of options here that I'm thinking, right? Like I like working Counter-Strike events as well, right? So we have an event set up like this now, you know, Blast have their events there, where we play everybody. Everyone has these creative visions and tournament formats and rules and stages, and I would like to maybe be involved in that at some point as well, right? I don't know what order I want to do things, and I'm seeming like I can make any choice. I don't think that's the case. I'd be very lucky if somebody like ESL would have me, you know, off the screen and helping in the backstage area. But you know, like I'm probably waffling on here too much. But I would like to do like a stage setup that is like a 360, but with everybody super close, and it's a bit more like a fight than it is like a stage setup, right? I would love to have it so like on the floor below the players that they can't see, obviously. There's the radar there, and change the way that we watch the game of Counter-Strike, because I still think that's something that can be evolve. And that's something that, you know, hopefully one day I can have maybe a position where I have a bit of power and push to get them to try those ideas, because this is great. I love this atmosphere. It's a massive party, but I would love to see this with an extra level of intensity. And that's just like one of the many things which I would like to be able to maybe try and influence in our scene.
Well, I mean, I've watched you present this idea on a podcast with Sarin.
Yes,
I've made my research. So I think that's a great idea. I mean, it really sounds
could go horribly
exciting.
wrong.
It did, but it could. But I think E-League did something similar with the teams against each other. So I think it could definitely work. But unrelated to my last question, even though it sounds similar, are you happy right now?
Right now, yeah. Right now I'm in a good place, right? Like I missed going to Dallas, and I missed going and working Pinnacle Cup after the major because I got COVID. Which kind of sucked because I haven't left Europe since the pandemic started. So I was looking forward just to going to Dallas and then be like, yay, look, I can actually leave and go on a plane. But having 6 weeks off actually probably worked in my favor. Meant I could rest, meant I could focus, meant I could play Counter-Strike, a very important thing as well. And I'm happy with where I live. I think, you know, Malta for me is a short time thing, but I'm only been there for 3 years, you know, so I get to wake up, I get to go down and swim in the sea, I get to come back and play Counter-Strike throughout the day, so it's like a holiday destination, but I have my bed there and my PC there. So right now, yeah, I'm content, I'm enjoying what I do. The only thing that I really want to add is maybe going to see my family, but they're going to come see me, so they're going to fix the problem for me. It'll all work out.
Well, I'm hoping that everything will work out in your favor. So thank you very much for having us. Thank you very much for whatever you're doing to follow the Counter-Strike scene, because watching your matches as a caster, it's wonderful. So thank you for that, and hopefully we're going to see a lot more from you in the future.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I appreciate the amount of effort you put into the questions here as well. They weren't just the stock standard, it was personal, so this is great. Easily one of the best interviews I've done. Thank you.
Well, I thank you. It's a great honor for me. So thank you very much, and see you next time.
See you next time.